G'day YouTube viewer, g'day bikers. Welcome to my first impressions ride on the new Honda GB350 we purchased for Riding Hood to continue to learn to ride a motorcycle with gears and open up her two-wheel experiences and be able to ride anything she wants, including my dirt and liter bikes. I had a question on my last video about whether this bike is the same as the Honda CB350 H'ness in India. My reply was, I understand Honda first designed and had the H'ness made in that huge motorcycle country to compete with the Royal Enfield. It and Asia are obviously massive markets for the industry, and they soon decided to release a GB350 variant in Japan as well as other parts of Asia, including Australia. I understand in Japan as well as other parts of Asia there are two models, both built in Japan, but only one of those came to Australia 12 months ago. I'm not sure whether the components are all made in one place and then assembled in the two different countries. Maybe someone can tell me, but the quality of the finish on the GB350 seems equivalent to any other Japanese-made bike at that price point. Honda have had so much interest in this small retro-looking bike, they are now releasing the RS version in Europe and the UK, and possibly North America, although I haven't heard the last bit officially announced yet or clarified. Again, maybe one of you can tell me whether that is the case or not. In the United Kingdom, I know they are expected to arrive in dealers by March, just in time for the start of spring and the new riding season. I assume that will be the same timing as the rest of Europe. In terms of quality, the one thing I noticed when I first sat on the bike in the showroom is the mudguards and side panels are plastic, and the plastic surrounding the switchgear is not as robust as you will find on other Hondas, but the switches themselves feel good. I think the quality is still great given the $7,900 price point in Australia, which is very comparable to the Royal Enfield J Series bikes, including the Meteor, Classic, Hunter and Bullet. The second thing I noticed was the motorcycle was lower at the handlebar than I thought it would be for some reason, and I sat slightly leant forward. I didn't know how this would feel while riding, but everything else before hitting the road seemed really comfortable. When starting out on that first ride, the first thing I noticed was the sound and how good that engine note from the long-stroke single-cylinder motor is with the standard chrome exhaust. That noise is intoxicating as soon as you start your ride, enticing you to accentuate the rev matching as you shift down the gears and tweak the throttle by revving it a little at every stoplight and intersection. And if you ride under an overpass or through a tunnel, it just has to be revved to hear that cool echo. This bike has such a great vibe. The other thing I noticed myself doing in every built-up area, including outside the showroom, was turning my head to catch a glimpse of how good this little classic-looking bike, with so much authentic retro styling, looks in any glass reflection. Despite its low horsepower, you really feel cool when you see yourself riding it. And it turns heads from virtually everyone on the footpath or in vehicles that you pass or who pass you. It's a charming little bike that looks like many of the classic Japanese bikes of the 70s that were in themselves inspired by the classic British bikes of the 60s, which is why I think there is going to be enormous interest in this motorcycle in the UK next year. Also, the market is definitely swinging towards smaller bikes for leisurely riding, and this little Honda has everything in spades when it comes to looks, sound and feel. In other words, the riding experience really lures you in immediately, and you never want your journey to end. Luckily, the seat, while firm, is very comfortable and cups your bottom in a way that you and your pillion could ride on it for many hours. And with a 15-litre tank, it has a fuel range that makes that very possible. But the bike also entices you to stop at cool locations to hop off and have a look at it parked next to a beach or any idyllic spot. You not only want to observe it, but listen to the idle and watch the reaction of every passerby, as well as answer their many questions. Most think it is a restored older bike from the 70s. I can understand why, because it reminds me very much of my first ever road bike, a Honda CB350. The exhaust in particular looks very similar, but this on the 350 single sounds way better. I'm going to do a detailed review with all the specs once I have many more hours on the bike. But some other first impressions were the extreme comfort of riding this bike with its 19-inch front and 18-inch rear wheels. I wouldn't describe it as a quick turner, but it handled corners really well. And the slightly leant forward position to the handlebars is very comfortable and feels totally natural, so my initial fears were not warranted. And your legs are in such a nice position you don't even notice them. When I saw it had a toe and heel shifter in the showroom, I immediately thought I would probably replace it with a normal gear shifter, but riding it I found I could just use the front section, and my heel didn't accidentally cause me to change gears. It is an unusual design at the back that keeps it mostly out of the way if you don't want a heel shift. I did bump it a couple of times while riding, but it didn't seem to be an issue. The one thing I did notice every time I stopped though was when I put my feet down, they always dropped right at the level of the foot pegs, so that will take some getting used to. Fortunately, the bike with its 800mm seat height is low enough for riding hood and I to flat foot, even while straddling past the pegs. So the comfort of the riding position makes it worth the slight awkwardness of what you have to do when the bike is not moving. A few other quick observations is that the mirrors did not appear to vibrate. Mind you, I wasn't revving the motor high while it is being run in, and my arms only took up about 10 to 20% of the view, so the vision behind me was very good. Of all the bikes I've ridden, only my Harley Heritage Softail Classic is better. The slip and assist clutch is so light you can easily pull it in with one finger, and the gear changing is so smooth I can honestly say it is the best I've ever experienced. Based on my initial experience, I think this is a bike I will mostly ride in the first 3 gears around town and on single lane country roads. I will then add in the 4th gear on most open roads and open speed limits. The top 5th gear is like an overdrive that doesn't have a lot of pull and is quickly affected by headwinds and any incline. So it is more useful on a flat highway. And if you want to pass anything, you will need to change down and get the revs up a bit to give you the passing power you need. For quicker emergency acceleration, you may even need to drop it down to 3rd. I will tell you more about that once I've ridden it more and once it is run in, because I think the power of the 21 horsepower motor will improve, as will the braking, which is already pretty good. Now, the lack of pull from that top gear is not going to be an issue for me or Riding Hood, because we don't intend to ride this bike on fast roads. Its wonderful character is all in its putt-around feel and ability, and by going too fast you won't be able to feel, hear and experience that wonderful sound in the 2000 to 3000 RPM rev range. I love how the torque is low down at 3000 revs and the peak power is at 5000. It really lends itself to chugging around while continuously going up and down the first 3 gears. I can tell I'm going to love riding this bike so much I'm going to have to remind myself to take out my other bikes. And I will have to keep reminding myself that this is Riding Hood's ride to keep learning on. But any excuse I get, I will always be tempted to pull this little bike out of the garage first for a leisurely, reflective, mindful spin. I can honestly say no other motorcycle I have ever ridden makes me feel as relaxed and consumed by its nature and charm as this one does. Now, I could say a lot more, such as how good the basic suspension seems and how easy the dash is to read, but I think my other observations are best kept for a far more detailed review, which I will once I've ridden it a few more times. In the meantime, thank you for joining me, and please like and subscribe if you think this content is okay, and and would like to be alerted when I post more videos. Also, this pleasurable riding machine will soon start featuring on Riding Hood's Learning to Ride a Motorcycle with Gears channel. Look out for more videos there in the new year. And finally, for this video, I hope you and your family have a wonderful Christmas and a fantastic 2025. So best wishes for the festive season from Australia.
Sounds good. See if you can get it into neutral before you let the clutch out. Yep, so you just half click up until you see, and then, oh no, you've already done it. Look at you. Yeah, you've done really well. Excellent. Well, that's enough for today. Just wanted you to just get a feel for it. Well done. Woohoo. How does it feel? It's not intimidating at all, is it? So you're still in neutral here.